NTD Good Morning is brought to you by Native Path, your top trusted supplement brand on the path to healthy living. For 44% off plus free shipping and free gift, visit getnativepath.com/NTD.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Hurricane Milton is exiting Florida's east coast, but flash floods and storm surges continue to pose dangers. Multiple deaths have been reported. More on the storm and its aftermath.
Former President Trump criticizes the administration's hurricane response while announcing an upcoming rally at Madison Square Garden. Vice President Harris responds.
A terrorist attack leaves Israelis within their own borders. That's as Israel's prime minister speaks with President Biden about Israel's potential attack on Iran. Jason Perry reports.
Presidential and vice presidential candidates flock to Arizona as the state becomes the first battleground to kick off early voting. 3 million nationwide have already cast ballots in this year's high-stakes election.
Halloween trick-or-treaters may be in for a trick. After an increase in chocolate prices, stores are forced to stock less Halloween chocolate on their shelves.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Chris Beers. I'm in for Kevin Hogan.
And I'm Evelyn Lee. Today's Thursday, October 10th. Topping the news this morning, Hurricane Milton is exiting Florida's east coast, but flash floods and storm surges continue to threaten the area.
The storm made landfall near Siesta Key as a dangerous Category 3 hurricane, later weakening to a Category 1.
Milton left a path of destruction across Florida. St. Petersburg received about 16 inches of rain, a rare occurrence for the region.
At least 27 tornadoes were reported statewide yesterday, adding to the devastation. Tragically, multiple deaths have been reported in St. Lucie County.
Hurricane Milton also tore the roof off Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Recovery efforts are now underway as the community begins to assess the damage. Residents are being rescued from homes in waist-deep water and debris. Here are more details.
Hurricane Milton made landfall as a Category 3 storm with sustained winds over 100 miles per hour. It made landfall in Siesta Key near Sarasota, just 70 miles south of Tampa. St. Petersburg recorded over 16 inches of rain Wednesday night, prompting the National Weather Service to issue a flash flood warning. As Milton approached, hurricane warnings were sent out all across Florida. Residents posted chilling videos of tornadoes moving across neighborhoods. A storm surge came ashore in Punta Gorda, south of Sarasota, completely flooding the area.
The surge is probably about 7 feet right now here in Punta Gorda, and still coming in, kind of coming in like a tsunami now all of a sudden in the last 20 minutes.
Not long after, bright flashes lit the sky as transformers exploded, leaving neighborhoods without power. More than 3 million homes and businesses were without power in Florida, according to poweroutage.us. So far, the worst-hit communities are mostly in the Tampa Bay area. The number of power outages may continue to rise. Many Floridians left their homes and hunkered down in storm shelters. For some, it was a familiar scene. Just 2 weeks ago, they were forced to evacuate when Hurricane Helene hit.
This is the 4th time that we've evacuated here, and these people, they're wonderful. They do a wonderful job.
In a press conference Wednesday, Florida officials warned of a new danger: fires caused by electric vehicles sitting in floodwater. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor reminded EV owners to store their vehicles and batteries out of reach of the water. She said some houses destroyed during Hurricane Helene were because of fires caused by salt water getting into EVs. Milton is set to move across Florida, west to east, remaining a hurricane as it enters the Atlantic Ocean.
I hope everybody made it through all right, and as daylight comes in, we will be able to get a better grip on the situation there. We're bringing in one person now who decided not to evacuate. Felipe Colon stayed in Sarasota, but moved in with his parents. Good morning, Felipe. Good to see you. First of all, landfall was a little bit earlier than expected. I want to ask you, did you get where you needed to and prep all you wanted to in time?
Good morning. Yes, most of us who did not evacuate had clear instructions that we needed to be where we needed to be, either by Tuesday night or by Wednesday before the afternoon. Originally, the storm was supposed to come in the evening, in the middle of the night, but obviously that changed, and we had it hit Siesta Key. I believe it was around 8:30. But the internet has been so bad, and the power has been bad, so it's been difficult to share information with others who are also still staying here in Sarasota.
Right. So we're really lucky, and we're really appreciative that you made time that you're able to come on with us this morning. You're staying with your parents, but you didn't evacuate the city. What did you experience during landfall?
Well, we didn't evacuate. I stayed with my parents because they felt safer having me there. And also we had my grandmother who had to evacuate from her Bayfront apartment. So I'm actually back downtown now. We have power down here, and things are a little bit better here. But some of those other areas inland got more destruction than they thought they would get. And part of that is because of the way it made landfall and the position of the storm. And we had 100-mile-an-hour winds out at Sarasota Airport, which is on the north side of town, inland a bit. And, it's just been a very complicated and challenging storm. The worst effects were probably the storm surge that they got on Siesta Key and points south. And then on the north side, we got more rain and the strongest wind.
So tell me a little bit more about that. I heard people talk about, just the intense sounds or the windows, just the shaking of the windows, or, what did you experience? What did it feel like, and what did it sound like outside?
Well, we've had lots of near misses here in Sarasota. This is probably our first direct hit since 1921 in this area. So we've had a lot of tropical depressions and storms like that kind of skirt the edges, but we haven't had a Category 3 make landfall here in that long. So there's obviously a big difference between the 100-mile-an-hour winds and the 40 and 50-mile-an-hour winds that we would get in those types of storms. And, it's difficult. The trees are one of the biggest issues. We have a lot of oak trees here and slash pines and things like that, and they tend to break branches and leave debris. Palm trees are usually a little bit more resilient.
Town. Tell me more of what you're seeing outside. Was it okay? Is there any flooding? It sounds like you went by car. Tell me more about the experience going back home.
I did. So the main roads are relatively clear. As I mentioned before, a lot of folks live in gated communities in places like Florida, and some of those have wooded access roads that, can take a lot of debris from the trees. But once you get on the main roads, because of the high winds, a lot of the debris tends to blow off the roads and get into other areas. So most of the roads were clear. We had some power outages, so the lights are out. You need to be really careful with that, because when you have no lights, you have no instruction, right? And as people are coming onto the road now that it's daylight, we're going to still have issues with directing that traffic. That's one of the reasons that roundabouts have become really popular here. And that's one of the things that we like to joke about on our podcast, Sarasota Speaks, is the prevalence of roundabouts in Sarasota. But they actually do work during hurricanes.
That's good news. I'm glad you found that out. So you've probably been through quite a few storms and hurricanes. But how would you say, did this one feel different, especially with it following Helene so closely?
I think Helene being close to this storm made the biggest difference because, as I've said, memories can be kind of short when it comes to these storms. But the fact that we had Helene 2 weeks ago, everyone's memory is very fresh. What can happen when you have levels of storm surge like we had. And last time we that's the worst we've ever had in many years, but we only had 6 feet. This one was projected to be 15. I think we got a little fortunate and we got less than 10, but I'm not sure yet. Fortunate is also a relative term because even 6 to 10 feet of storm surge was enough to put any businesses in our barrier islands and St. Armand's Circle, Siesta Key, and even some parts of downtown completely underwater. So it could have been worse, but it was still pretty bad for a lot of people.
Got it. Well, Felipe Colon, I am so glad to hear that you're okay, that your family is okay, and I hope you continue to stay safe. Thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Next, North Carolina lawmakers approved a nearly $275 million relief package yesterday. It will cover the urgent needs of people whose lives have been turned upside down by Hurricane Helene. Officials say the package is for rebuilding communities. It will also support small businesses and provide water and transportation support. The bill will also change some election rules. It will allow voters to request an absentee ballot in person until the day before the election. And it will also provide ways for voters to drop off absentee ballots. The package was approved unanimously in both the House and the Senate. Lawmakers will meet later in October to discuss more action.
Historic, catastrophic, and different from any other hurricane. These are what federal officials are calling Hurricane Milton as it made landfall in Florida.
NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more on the federal response from the White House.
Federal officials are speaking to the destructive nature of Hurricane Milton. President Biden on Wednesday calling the storm one of the worst to hit Florida in over a century. Here he is talking about the amount of resources, which are unprecedented, being sent to Florida.
We have thousands of federal personnel on the ground. When you're staged and are ready to go, we have 20 million meals, 40 million liters of water. We're going to work with state officials to clear debris, restore power, and do it as fast as possible. The Army Corps of Engineers will pump out water and decrease flooding. We've already directed the Department of Defense to be ready to provide active duty service members to support Florida after the storm surge if Governor DeSantis requests the help.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, has already issued $344 million in direct assistance to Hurricane Helene victims. Over 8,000 federal personnel are deployed, and they are still stretched thin. 1,200 search and rescue personnel are already in Florida, and Milton entered the west coast of Florida near Tampa, passed over Orlando, and leaves through the east coast, all as a hurricane. The fact that it's going to enter as a hurricane and stay as a hurricane, not downgrading to a tropical storm, is unusual. Over 20 million people across the state are under hurricane alert. Taking the lead on this is really state officials, as FEMA is just providing a helping hand here. This comes as President Biden rearranged his schedule. He was scheduled to head to Germany and Angola this week, but canceled his plans to oversee the hurricane from the White House. Biden urged those in this storm's eye to seek shelter and listen to local officials for any further updates on the storm. Reporting from the White House, Jack Bradley, NTD News.
Coming up, former President Trump criticizes the administration's hurricane response while announcing an upcoming rally at Madison Square Garden. Vice President Harris responds.
And presidential and vice presidential candidates are flocking to Arizona as the state becomes the first battleground to kick off early voting. 3 million nationwide have already cast ballots in this year's high-stakes election.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I am living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Good to have you back. Israel reports killing terrorists in other countries while also facing a terrorist attack within its own borders.
Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with President Biden about Israel's potential attack on Iran. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
On Wednesday, Israeli forces released drone footage of a Hezbollah commander in Lebanon wearing camouflage and trying to evade detection. Israeli troops looked on as one soldier controlled the drone with a remote device. Then an Israeli airstrike killed the terrorist. Israel also released this video of another Hezbollah terrorist in uniform trying to stay undetected, while an Israeli soldier followed him with a drone. Then that terrorist was killed as well. And in other parts of Lebanon, a video posted on social media shows what appears to be Israeli troops raising their flag in a Lebanese village as they continue their ground offensive into the country. However, Hezbollah terrorists on Wednesday launched another major rocket attack on northern Israel, killing 2 people and causing a building to catch fire.
2 residents went to walk, it seems with their dog, and they were hurt by a direct hit. I turn to you, the residents of Kiryat Shmona. Everyone who doesn't need to be in the city, don't be here.
And in central Israel, 6 people were wounded when a terrorist began stabbing people. Police say they shot and, quote, neutralized the terrorist. Over the years, Palestinians have conducted similar stabbing attacks and also car ramming attacks against Israelis. And in the West Bank on Wednesday, Israeli forces killed 5 Palestinian terrorists, according to Israeli police. Palestinian state-run media said that Israeli special forces opened fire on a vehicle that the men were traveling in. Also on Wednesday, Israel reported striking and killing a Hezbollah terrorist in Syria. Israeli forces said he was an intelligence operative for the group. In another development, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with President Biden on Wednesday about Israel's potential attack on Iran. The White House said the talk lasted about 30 minutes and that it was direct and productive. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said on Wednesday that their attack on Iran will be lethal, precise, and surprising. Jason Perry, NTD News.
With just 26 days left before the election, former President Trump vows to win the key swing state of Pennsylvania while announcing a rally in the deep blue state of New York.
It comes as Trump and Vice President Harris are taking aim at each other over the administration's hurricane response. NTD's Iris Tao was at Trump's rally last night in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Here in President Biden's hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, former President Trump urges voters here to vote early and also vows to win Pennsylvania, this biggest battleground prize with 19 electoral votes. In an appeal to voters here, Trump vows to lower their energy prices by expanding oil drilling and also to cut taxes by eliminating tax on tips, tax on overtime pay, and tax on Social Security.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
But now, with just 27 days before the election, Trump is notably spending resources and time in states in addition to traditional battleground states. Trump announced at his Scranton rally that he will be campaigning at Madison Square Garden in New York later this month, and his campaign confirmed to our media group that that rally will happen on October 27th, just 9 days before the November election.
We're going to make a play for New York. Hasn't been done in a long time. The migrants have taken over Madison Avenue. They've taken over Fifth Avenue. They've taken over the parks. The kids can't play Little League. You know, it sounds like a trivial thing. It's a big deal when you have a son that's a Little League player and he can't play.
And in addition to New York, Trump's also vowing to, quote, make a play for other blue states like Minnesota, New Jersey, and New Mexico. And this weekend, he's even set to rally in California. Meanwhile, as two hurricanes hit the U.S., both presidential candidates are taking aim at each other over hurricane response. And Trump, at his Scranton rally, accused the administration of spending much-needed FEMA money on illegal immigrants.
They had no money. You know where they gave the money? To illegal immigrants coming in.
While Vice President Kamala Harris on Tuesday accused Trump of spreading what she calls misinformation.
It is unconscionable, frankly, that anyone who would consider themselves a leader would mislead desperate people to the point that those desperate people would not receive the aid to which they are entitled.
And next up, Trump is holding another rally in Reading, Pennsylvania tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's before he heads to Aurora, Colorado on Friday for a rally in another non-swing state. Reporting from Scranton, Pennsylvania, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Former President Trump said yesterday he will not debate Vice President Harris again.
The comments came hours after Fox News invited the two for a possible second debate late this month. Trump says it's too late in the process now to have a debate.
And from the Howard Stern Show to Stephen Colbert, as the election now entering its final stretch, Vice President Kamala Harris is stepping up media appearances.
But screen time aside, how much do voters know about her policies and achievements? NTD's Sam Wong spoke to people at the National Mall to find out.
Would you say you know full well about Harris's policy agenda?
There's not much there other than more of the same and socialism. I like the idea that she focuses on the middle class.
Like, for example, when she talks about not taxing tips.
She changes horses midstream on a regular basis, so it's hard to say what she's for.
She keeps just going around and around in a circle and not really stating what is really truly her policy.
She's talking about building homes, what kind of numbers she has been thinking of, and initiatives and policies that will help support that.
There's a lot of word salads when you try to find out what those policies are.
Throughout Harris's political career, what are some of her biggest political achievements or accomplishments?
I can't name one.
I have a blank look on my face, don't I?
She is a decent person, and she's a former senator and former prosecutor.
Giving away money? No, I can't.
Following up on some of the criminal activities and actually doing the prosecutions rather than letting things ride.
To me, it's her legacy. She come from a single family. She become the Secretary of State. She become Vice President.
I think that the way she has really focused on women's health and getting in there and getting policy initiated.
I don't think she has accomplished what is beneficial to us as a nation and for what is right in the sight of every American, Democratic and Republican.
A severe solar storm is headed toward Earth. Space weather forecasters warned yesterday that it could stress power grids. This comes as the country deals with back-to-back hurricanes. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration issued a severe geomagnetic storm watch. There we go. The watch is in effect from today into tomorrow. It issued the warning after a solar outburst was detected this week. The storm could disrupt power and radio signals temporarily. It alerted power plant operators and spacecraft to take precautions. FEMA has also been notified about possible power disruptions. Forecasters don't expect this storm to exceed May's solar storm. That storm was the strongest in over 2 decades, but they will only know more once the storm is closer. And after the break, it's a close presidential race despite significant Democratic Party moves. Where does that leave Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign for the White House?
And a controversial immigrant shelter in New York City will soon be closing. Why is it shutting down, and what will happen to the migrants living there when we return?
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50 enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
We design Native Path products to restore essential nutrients missing from the modern diet. This is what being on the path is all about. We're more than a health and wellness brand, we're a community.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere. And this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind.
I think you're really gonna like it.
I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me. There is a love waiting.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Waits down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this love is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Good to have you back.
If you're just joining us now, here are some of today's top headlines. Hezbollah terrorists launched another major rocket attack on northern Israel, killing 2 people. And in central Israel, 6 people were wounded when a terrorist began stabbing people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with President Biden over the phone about Israel's potential retaliatory attack on Iran.
Former President Trump held 2 rallies in the key battleground state of Pennsylvania yesterday with a focus on the economy and immigration. Vice President Kamala Harris joined President Biden virtually for a briefing on Hurricane Milton and traveled to Las Vegas for a town hall event.
Hurricane Milton has exited Florida's east coast, but risks of flash floods and storm surge remains. The storm made landfall near Siesta Key as a Category 3 hurricane. It later weakened to a Category 1. St. Petersburg received around 16 inches of rain and at least 27 tornadoes were reported statewide. Multiple deaths were reported in St. Lucie County. Milton also damaged Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Bay Rays. Recovery efforts are underway. And as Hurricane Milton exits the Sunshine State, we look at what impact the storm has had and could have on the supply of gasoline there. Gas tracking website Gas Buddy said 24% of gas stations in the state were without power as of yesterday afternoon. Here to discuss is Ray Trevino, Vice President of Operations at the oil and gas company Pecos Country Operating. Welcome, Ray. Good to have you. Talk first about the magnitude of the gas shortages we're seeing in Florida.
They are very big right now. Anytime you take 25% of any supply out of what is very important, it's going to make a very big impact. And right now, we're just with everybody out there in Florida, and all our thoughts, hearts, and prayers are with them at this time as well.
Talk about the impact. How could this feed back into the community there?
Yes, right now the impact that this is going to have is tremendous. Right now you've got so many people without power, and right now you've got a lot of people really thinking right now that their generators are going to be so important, so they're trying to fill those up. Also, the fact that a lot of people tried to top off their gas tanks or generators before the storm hit also is a reason why a lot of the gasoline has created that shortage there. So now as they go through the aftermath with 25% of gasoline or gas stations out, you're going to see probably more and more lines at the other places. And then, of course, a decrease at those gas stations as well.
Do you have any sense for how long these gas shortages will last there in Florida?
That's a very good question, Chris. Right now, with the Tampa Bay port, or the port in Tampa closed, we're waiting on the Coast Guard out there to okay that port to open back up. And once it does, they'll start to get gasoline back out to other people. One positive note, though, is that all the gasoline that gets trucked in, hopefully now that the storm has surpassed, that those trucks will get in and start to fill up those gas stations as well.
How important is the Port of Tampa to the gas supply in Florida?
Very good question. That port right there is one of the very most important ports, not only in Florida, but along the Gulf Coast. They supply tremendous goods around America. And so the faster we can get that port back up and running, the better.
Now, I know that your company is obviously involved in all this. How are you guys responding to the shortage of gasoline in Florida? Are you taking any measures?
For us, we will just continue to produce oil so that it can get to the refineries to get clean, to get transferred into gasoline for us over here at Pecos Country Operating. However, what a lot of us are also doing is with just monitoring and making sure that the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, this is actually what it's needed for, is to get products to Americans when they need them during disaster strikes. So right now, I'm pretty sure that our administration is working with the Florida administration to get those products over to them as they need them quickly.
How does what we're seeing in Florida or could see in Florida compare to what we saw and are seeing still after Hurricane Helene?
Right now, as we are here in the morning, I don't want to put any type of speculation to compare the two. Any natural disasters that happen here in America are horrific, and we need to respond to them as quickly as possible. I would say the only thing is that there's going to be more flooding in Florida, just like in North Carolina. Again, I'm not trying to compare the two, but if you're able to help in any form or fashion, whether it's in North Carolina or Florida, please do so.
Yeah, and certainly Florida is very well versed in handling hurricanes. We saw Governor Ron DeSantis kicking into action full gear ahead of this, whereas places like North Carolina and the mountains, they're not used to this kind of thing. Ray Trevino, Vice President of Operations at Pecos Country Operating, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Also, lots of action in Arizona this week. A heated debate between Senate candidates while both VP candidates Tim Walz and J.D. Vance campaign in the state. Arizona is the first battleground state to kick off early in-person voting. Now NTD's Melina Weisskopf joins us with more on this.
Nearly 3 million people have already cast their ballots for early voting nationwide. Arizona is the latest state, being the first battleground state to kick off early voting. Just yesterday, of those people casting early votes, most of them are coming from mail ballots, and tens of millions of other Americans have requested mail ballots. Those who are voting by mail are generally Democrats, and they tend to be older age, around 60 or older. And now that Arizona has started that early voting, campaigns from both parties are really honing in and emphasizing that state. Just yesterday, the two vice presidential candidates held dueling rallies in Arizona. Arizona being a border state, both of them honed in on the issue of immigration. Here's what they said.
Now, the thing that Democrats always say is that their illegal immigration policies are compassionate. They're not compassionate for the American citizens who have had their communities flooded with fentanyl. They're not compassionate to people like Lake and Riley who were killed by illegal aliens that Kamala Harris let into this country.
They want to blame everything on migrants, and they want to take no responsibility or come up with no plan. Senator Vance, I will give them, again, I'm being generous tonight, I'm giving them credit.
Additionally, later this evening, Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Arizona for a rally in Phoenix. Former President Trump will be in Arizona on Sunday for a rally north of Phoenix. And in some sense, this is their last chance to woo voters. Arizona is very popular for early voting. Remember, back in 2020, 80% of the voting population in Arizona voted before Election Day. Additionally, there was a Senate debate, the first and only of which happening this year, between Senate candidate Kari Lake and Senate candidate Ruben Gallego. Both of them honed on the issue of border security, both saying they support a border wall. Listen to this.
Mr. Gallego, you were one of the earliest and most emphatic critics of a border wall. Has your perspective changed on that? How much of a role does a border wall need to play in an overall security package? You have 2 minutes.
Well, I think a border wall is important to a security package, but it also has to be coupled with technology, manpower, and then laws that come behind that.
My first piece of legislation will be to fully fund and expedite the construction of the border wall. It's unfortunate we already paid for the construction materials to do that.
Now, this Arizona race is not rated as a toss-up race, as most polling indicates it's a lean Democrat race, but polling is still in the single digits. There's around 8% of a margin between those two candidates, but those polls have actually been widening in Democrats' favor as we get closer to Election Day. Now, Arizona is a very fluid state here, so it is definitely worth paying attention to on that down ballot, and in addition to the battleground presidential race that's going to be shaping up. And we see that through the margin of victory that Kyrsten Sinema had back in 2018, as well as what we saw in 2022. Both of them, the Democrat senators, won with just a single-digit margin. And then we saw Kyrsten Sinema, the current senator, of course, switch her party midterm from Democrat to Independent. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Thank you, Melina. New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced yesterday the early closure of the migrant shelter on Randall's Island. The city plans to shut the center by the end of February. This decision comes as the number of immigrants entering the city has significantly dropped. Capacity at the shelter is already being reduced. Many occupants will be moved to other shelters. Adams says that immigration numbers in city shelters have dropped for 14 consecutive weeks, reaching their lowest in over a year. About 60,000 immigrants are still residing in shelters. The move comes after a nonprofit that manages park space on the island threatened legal action. They wanted the 3,000-person facility closed by August.
Coming up, Sandy Hook Promise launches a 5-year pilot program in collaboration with schools in the Bronx to help bring down violence and help students feel safer in class.
And Halloween trick-or-treaters may be in for a bit of a trick. After increases in chocolate prices, stores are forced to stock less Halloween chocolate on their shelves. Stay tuned for that.
NTD Good Morning is brought to you by Native Path, your top trusted supplement brand on the path to healthy living. For 44% off plus free shipping and free gift, visit getnativepath.com/NTD.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Commercial airplane maker Boeing has withdrawn an offer to 33,000 striking workers. NTD's David Lamb has the story.
Boeing's offer would have given 30% raises over 4 years to the striking workers, but the aviation company withdrew the offer after talks fell through. The manufacturer said it had boosted its offer for union workers for take-home pay and retirement benefits during 2 days of negotiations. Boeing said the union didn't seriously consider the proposal. The company stated, instead, the union made non-negotiable demands far in excess of what can be accepted if we are to remain competitive as a business. The union said its members rejected Boeing's offer overwhelmingly, saying, "Your negotiating committee attempted to address multiple priorities that could have led to an offer we could bring to a vote, but the company wasn't willing to move in our direction." In September, the union complained that Boeing had publicized its latest offer to 33,000 striking workers without first bargaining with negotiators.
The sense of not respecting our negotiating team to do that and bypass them and trying to get directly to the members, that's not how it should be done, right?
I'm not going to think about anything on the word of mouth or on a handshake. We want it in writing. We need to review, because something that's not talked about is all the fine print, right? We need to look at what's been scratched out or what's been changed. It's all there. But when they just throw out this what might look good to the public,
The first proposal included 25% raises, but the union originally demanded 40% over 4 years. The strike is stretching on as Boeing deals with multiple other issues. It has shut down production of 3 of its models. S&P estimates that Boeing will lose around $1 billion a month due to costs associated with the strike. David Lamb, NTD News.
3 scientists won the 2024 Nobel Prize in Chemistry yesterday for their work on the structure of proteins.
The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences said half the prize was awarded to U.S. scientist David Baker.
U.S. scientist John Jumper and British scientist Demis Hassabis shared their other half.
Hassabis and Jumper used artificial intelligence to predict the structure of almost all known proteins, while Baker created entirely new proteins.
The ability to custom design new proteins and better understand existing proteins could enable researchers to create new kinds of medicines and vaccines.
The prize is widely regarded as among the most prestigious in the scientific world. It is worth $1.1 million. Moving on, a nonprofit is working in New York City to prevent school shootings. Sandy Hook Promise has launched a 5-year pilot program in partnership with District 9 schools in the Bronx.
The program aims to bring proven violence prevention strategies to hundreds of students and foster safer learning environments. Let's take a look.
I have some strategies for you that will help you if you're worried that you're shy or you feel less confident.
These middle schoolers in the Bronx are learning to be more socially inclusive and connected to their fellow students.
What else? What else could Olivia and Mateo do?
It's an initiative called Start with Hello, part of a program taught by Sandy Hook Promise, a nonprofit gun violence prevention organization founded in response to the 2012 Connecticut elementary school shooting.
Parents, people in the community who lost loved ones, they got together and they made a promise. Someone who's feeling alone, disconnected, unseen, someone who's feeling like they're not part of what's going on, that can lead to some pretty bad stuff. At the most extreme, someone hurting themselves or someone else, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
The organization has launched a 5-year pilot program in partnership with New York's District 9 schools in the Bronx, and it has been a hit with students at CIS 303 Middle School.
It helps me and my friend help the school have more safety and make people feel like they belong in the school.
We're normally concerned about like new students. They don't have friends. So like mostly my friends, we talk to them, like we become friends with them.
The school's principal, Monica Brady, emphasized the importance of the program in helping students feel seen.
The number of 8th graders running around trying to find 6th graders who look lonely, like, hi, do you know anyone? Let me introduce you. I'm so-and-so. Come play with us for a few days. Like, it was astounding. When you feel seen, you're much less likely to be violent or to have those violent thoughts.
Chief Program Officer Crystal Garant says Sandy Hook Promise has helped prevent at least 16 planned school shootings across the U.S.
We're seeing young people able to develop relationships with one another. They're using the language of the program. They're able to say, I know when I see someone, how to intervene, how to ask for help, how to make a connection. So the young people are using the language of the program to facilitate connections, to get the right levels of support for a young person who might be in crisis.
It's so good to see this kind of thing because time and time again after these shootings, we hear people talk about how, mental health is one of the driving factors behind all of these shootings.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also part of it, maybe that plays into that, Sandy Hook Promise is also working on, preventing bullying because that is also a type of violence and they are saying that this also needs to be prevented. And I think that's a great initiative. It looks like people are there for each other, it works. And if I may just speak on that, I mean, high school is way back for me, but I moved from Germany to Canada in high school, and just having somebody there that shows you around just knocked on my dorm door and goes like, oh, hey, let me introduce you to your fellow dorm mates, or like, who else lives across the hall or something like that. It makes a complete difference, totally.
Yeah, and you can see how, sadly, if somebody's having these darker thoughts when they're alone, they can easily sort of breed without having the light of day of a conversation.
That's a very good point too. All right, we're moving on to Halloween. Next time you go shopping, you might find fewer Halloween chocolates on store shelves.
Instead, stores are filling their shelves with other kinds of treats. Let's hear more on how candy companies are doubling down on cheaper gummies.
Trick-or-treaters hoping to collect handfuls of chocolate candy this Halloween may be greeted with gummy bears instead. Blame elevated chocolate prices due to both pandemic-era supply chain snarls and a current cocoa bean shortage, which have led to shrinking corporate margins and slower sales. As a result, famous chocolate brands have doubled down on cheaper non-chocolate treats this Halloween, such as Hershey's new Jolly Rancher Ropes and Shackalicious Gummies, the latter inspired by former basketball star Shaquille O'Neal. Market research firm Circana said the shift comes as prices on seasonal chocolate candy have increased by as much as 7.5% from last year. That's prompted Hershey to tweak even some of its most famous chocolate brands, with Halloween offerings that also include Reese's Werewolf Tracks, which feature a vanilla cream top instead of milk chocolate, and a Kit Kat Ghost Toast with a cinnamon toast-flavored cream. Mondelez, which does not have a major U.S. chocolate brand, said shoppers are also looking for more limited editions and special flavors, such as its Sour Patch Kids Apple Harvest and Cherry varieties. Privately held Mars did not reply to a request for comment. Still, this bounty of gummy candy may not stick, as Circana said that non-chocolate treats, while cheaper, have also risen in price.
I don't have anything against gummies. I love gummies, but they're so bad for your teeth.
Yeah, they're just so sweet. It's unfortunate. I mean, I think those chocolates are so good. I guess it has something to do with droughts in West Africa, where like 80% or so of the world's cocoa supply is from.
Yeah, cocoa prices are through the roof apparently, but you know, apparently we're finding ways around it, so all good.
There are bigger problems than missing Halloween chocolate.
Yeah. All right, and I bet some of our viewers may have made a call or two about loose livestock or wildlife in their neighborhood.
But sheriff's deputies in Washington state got a call from one woman who was besieged by up to 100 raccoons.
The woman reported having to flee her property in Kitsap County after dozens of raccoons descended on it.
She told deputies she started feeding a family of raccoons decades ago. Everything was fine until about 6 weeks ago, when the number went up from a handful to around 100.
This is more than one family.
Yeah.
A spokesperson for the sheriff's office said the woman told him the raccoons were becoming increasingly aggressive. They had started scratching at her door and surrounding her car when she pulled up.
Horrifying. The Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife discourages people from feeding wildlife. A spokesperson said a wildlife conflict specialist met with the woman, who has since stopped feeding the critters. The raccoons have since started to dissipate. I knew of somebody who used to feed the bears in her backyard.
Oh, I hope that would have been a whole different, that could have been a whole different outcome than this one, I hope.
100 bears.
No, oh my goodness. But those raccoons look cute in comparison, I have to say. Like a bunch of little thieves surrounding in her garden.
But still, be careful about feeding those animals in your backyard.
No rabies today. All right. We're wrapping up our show now, but be sure to stay tuned for NTD News Today broadcast at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That's still coming up.
For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
And don't forget to follow us on X at NTD Good Morning. Thanks for watching now. I'm Evelyn Lee.
And I'm Chris Pierce.
Welcome back to The Nation Decides.
This historical election,
Thank you for joining
you need the best political team.
The candidates meet expectations.
We bring the data-driven, unbiased reporting you won't find anywhere else.
So then focus on jobs in the economy.
We cut through the noise so you can make informed decisions.
Like to have heard more on. Second debate that
Stay with NTD for the news that matters to you.
What do you think the Harris?
We are NTD.
This is such a gentle painting, so beautifully portrayed. A group of people reading together in this simple, everyday-looking living room. A young girl reading along with an adult, a grandparent sitting in the lotus position, a businessman in his typical suit.
You see all those people, they look like they have quietly settled down there. And you as a viewer, it looks like you've just stepped in the door.
You can't see what it is they're reading, so you're a little bit curious and you're kind of invited to walk in.
This harmonious feeling is not by accident. It is the very subject of the work. The book they are reading is the main text of Falun Gong, which is an ancient Chinese spiritual discipline in the Buddhist tradition. At the core of Falun Gong are the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Unfortunately, the practice is banned in China, where the artist resides. Thousands have been killed for their faith. Golden energy blooms into the room as a result of their steadfast faith. The painting on the back wall reminds us of this work's title, Plum Blossoms in a Muddy World.
It's also a metaphor for the practitioners that are sitting in the room as plum blossoms.
They signify perseverance and hope that all brutal winters end and life is renewed once again.
The magical painting.
NTD Good Morning is brought to you by Native Path, your top trusted supplement brand on the path to healthy living. For 44% off plus free shipping and free gift, visit getnativepath.com/NTD.